Hey everybody, we're back again with another episode of Strange Appalachia. It's another one of those COVID episodes, so make sure everybody's got their mask on and that you're practice social distancing while we're doing this kind of thing. Um, we're going to open up with a couple of news stories that were kind of weird in the news this week, or the last 2 or 3 weeks. Apparently, there are a ton of escaped animals in the Appalachian region, everything from tigers and wallabies to monkeys. So, JD, you want to start us off with that?
Absolutely. Well, I guess the rash of strange animal news starts with the more down in your area with the tiger that was reportedly seen and then wasn't seen and then was seen and then turned out to be a bobcat and then turned out to maybe not be a bobcat. And so that one's sort of been all over the place, and I'm still not even completely sure that there was anything that even resembled a tiger loose down there. Um,
Well, one of the good explanations I heard of it is that it was a mountain lion. Since mountain lions are returning to this area, a lot of people aren't able to recognize those things. And it was first reported by a police officer, and that's why it was taken so seriously. So a lot of people think that he may have seen a mountain lion and didn't wasn't able to recognize it. And
right.
then also there was the report of a missing, I think it's called a serval. It's a kind of cat.
Yeah.
One of those things was reported missing as well. So some
Hmm.
people think it may have been that.
I missed that part of it.
Yeah,
Um,
down here I got a little bit more info than you do on it.
yeah. The then the second animal breakout, I guess is the best word for it, was a wallaby, and it was quickly found and returned to its owner. So that one at least has a explanation. And then I was, just looking through news articles one day, and I found a report of over near Emory and Henry College, somewhere in that area, a monkey, long-tailed monkey, was seen crossing the interstate in that area, and that, in the grand scheme of escaped animals, the monkey's not that big of a deal, compared to a tiger or a wallaby, because monkey's much less newsworthy, I guess, than either of those two. But the thing that stuck out to me about the monkey is that is not the first report of monkeys running wild in the area that I've ever heard. Um, I had a gentleman tell me about a year ago that I don't know the exact distance, but I'm going to say 30 minutes to an hour away from that area. When he was younger, he saw a monkey sitting on the side of a road in Castlewood, Virginia. And if you've ever been to Castlewood, there's really only one main road that goes through that area. So it'd be hard to miss something that was there because you've got to go by it. And then within a week of that gentleman telling me that story, I heard another guy talking about um, a monkey that was seen and reported around Appalachia, Virginia. So a lot of weird loose monkey stories in the Appalachian region that just that's sort of out of nowhere, really. So that's my weird news for the week.
Yeah, I know that there's some legends of things called devil monkeys,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure that you can chalk all of them up to escaped pets. But every now and then a baboon will pop up, or uh, especially spider monkeys pop up a lot because they're pets. People keep them as pets. But you get a lot of reports from those things, and it's kind of something you don't expect to see. But they are not common pets, but it's common enough that I'm not shocked by them when I hear them.
Speaking of pets, that reminds me, one of our teachers used to tell a story about when he was growing up. A neighbor of his had a monkey that would always terrorize him. So
Yeah, well, they're not very good pets. I mean, it's like constantly having a 2-year-old child, that never seems to grow up, and you don't get any of the love or the maturity that will eventually come with age. It's always just going to kind of terrorize you.
yeah,
And they also report with those things as pets, man, they've got nasty bites. And so that's something. I mean, they take off fingers, take chunks out
Mhm.
of arms. So not a very good pet, but like you said, you come across reports of them occasionally.
Certainly. And you've got a news story as well, correct?
Yeah, one of the things this isn't Appalachian related, but I mean in a way it kind of is. At one point in time in the Appalachian Mountains, a lot of people don't realize it, but we had a lot of megafauna, um, giant sloths, giant rhinos, mammoths, giant hornless rhinos. All these things roamed in the area, and the apex predator was the short-faced cave bear. Now this is a bear that dwarfs even a polar bear or a grizzly bear. It's the largest bear species that we know of. And in Siberia, about 3 days ago, they found the frozen remains of a cave bear, and it's massive. It's huge. Uh, it's about a foot taller at the shoulder than a polar bear is. When they stand up, I think they stood at about 15 foot tall on their back legs. And so
That's
I know,
the average that I've seen, so that sounds about right.
yeah, I know that one of the attempts that scientists have, or one of the things scientists want to do, is they want to actually clone this thing and release it back into the wild. And I'm all down for that. I'm all about letting a 15-foot tall bear running around. I have no issue with that at all. I know you've got a different take on that though, JD.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that idea, just because I don't want to run from the thing when I go to my car in the morning.
It'd be
Um,
interesting. It'd make it
the
a lot
the
more
other
interesting.
the other downside to letting it loose in the wild is what's it going to eat? Because I mean, let's face it, we don't have woolly mammoths for it to eat anymore.
We got to get those first though. I mean, we have a few mammoths running around to take care of our bears. It'd be fine. I'm
Yeah,
totally fine with that. So
we'll release them down your way. You can take care of them.
they'll be fine. I mean, these people in Tennessee will love it.
I'm sure.
Maybe they'll get it on their football team.
I was going to say that might be the only chance they got to win in a game this year. I mean, what?
Big Tennessee fans.
Yeah.
All right, so let's segue into tonight's episode. Tonight's episode is on.
Speaking of mortal enemies with us in Tennessee, we're going to bring you the mortal enemy of one of our previous episodes.
There you go. Good segue. That's the best segue.
Thank you.
All right, so one of our first episodes was the Dog Man, or the Wolf Man, and his mortal enemy was a beast called the Snallygaster. Now, this creature is something that's usually found in up around Northern Virginia and Maryland, up in that area, um, more north of us. But it's a story that intrigues me because the description of this thing, it's described as a giant bird with a metal beak. Um, Sometimes it's said to have one eye, sometimes it has two. And it's also described as having octopus limbs either in place of its mouth or coming out of its mouth. So, you know, to me that would be terrifying seeing that thing fly around.
Absolutely. And one of the things that strikes me is this is one that more so than any of the other cryptids I've really encountered, you get a lot of different reported sightings of this thing, but at the same time, depending on where you're at, the report of what it looks like or stuff like that is going to change significantly. Some people add in the tentacle part, the octopus tentacle part. Some people add in the metal beak part. um, some people describe it as being reptilian. Some people give it wings, some don't, although most do. So I mean, where you're at completely changes the average description of the Snallygaster.
Yeah,
So
I read
so
one
that
report that said
always interested me.
yeah, I read one report that said it had actually had metal claws.
Yeah,
Um, one report I said it was bulletproof. They'd actually shot at it and it was bulletproof. You know, I don't. Yeah, is it metal? Is it not? Like you said, one report said it's very reptilian in nature.
hmm
So,
and that brings up another thing that has just popped into my thought process here. Given the normal state of being for most people in the Appalachian Mountains, the fact that there aren't more of these cryptids that have been shot at and claimed to be bulletproof is somewhat surprising.
That's correct. I mean, Black Panthers, you would think, with as often as that pops up, somebody would shoot it.
Yeah,
Um, Most of the time with Sasquatch, they say they don't shoot it because they think it's a person.
yeah,
So there's kind of an answer there. But for everything else, you know, you would think it would be fair game.
yeah. Especially as many shoot first, ask question later as we run into sometimes.
Yeah. So the name Snellygaster, what I read on it, it comes from a German word, um, Schnallgeist. Is that right? Schnellgeist?
Schnellergeist. So Schnell. I'm German is not my strong suit, but something of that effect.
Not even close. And it translates to quick spirit or quick ghost. And
Right.
originally, when it was reported, supposedly this thing uh, fed on the blood of people that it caught. It was almost vampiric in nature.
Mm-hmm. And it would just like any good vampiric Appalachian mountain legend, it also fed on livestock and things of that nature. So um, it would swoop in at night, steal your livestock, steal your kids, whatever needs to be stolen, and take off. And that's where the quick ghost part of it came in because nobody could ever really catch it.
Um, it seems like too, reading through the reports, that in later years, 1700s is when it was cited the most often. In the 1800s, there was kind of a resurgence, and that ended up being a hoax. And then in the 1900s, um, it was once again cited, and without any explanation, they just kind of popped on the radar for a little bit. It's actually, there's a lot of festivals now about it, just like many of these cryptids will get a festival named after them. This one has one as well.
And in good German tradition, most of these Snallygaster festivals seem to be beer festivals.
Yes, correct. They're a lot of times they're held in October. Um, it's a brew fest. There's actually a beer named after the beast, the Snellygaster beer. And I know
Mm-hmm.
the brewing company that produces it only produces it one time a year. So that's pretty interesting.
And the thing I think that gives this a different amount of credibility than most of the other cryptids is at one point in time, President Theodore Roosevelt, who is sort of renowned for his outdoorsmanship and his hunting and stuff like that, offered to personally come to Maryland and hunt the Snallygaster.
Yes, he did. He was going to cancel a safari he had planned
Mm-hmm.
uh, just to do that. So, it's pretty well renowned. I know at some point in time we've talked about going up and kind of doing an investigation. We have an area up in more northern Virginia than where we were from, but we have an area up there of a pretty good acreage that we should be allowed to go up there and investigate on if we're nice enough and mind our P's and Q's.
Yep. Um, so the other thing that strikes me, and we sort of led with this, is it's described as the mortal enemy of the dog man, and I saw that brought up in a couple of different places, but I couldn't ever really find any stories as to why it was the mortal enemy, just that it was. Were you
Yeah,
able to dig anything up there?
no, I actually started looking into that specifically and couldn't find any reports of people seeing them together. Couldn't find any legends as to why they were supposed to be enemies. Um, it's a pretty intriguing part of the story, but it doesn't seem to lead anywhere. Just people say that they're mortal enemies, and they call it, what is it, the Duano Wolf or Duane Wolf?
Dwayo,
That's it.
something of that.
Wild. Yeah, it's a Dwyer wolf. Is what they say is the mortal enemy. But there's no reports of them fighting. Nobody seems to have seen them at the same time. So I don't know where that part of the legend comes from, but it's everywhere you look for the Snellygaster, the dog man comes up, but there's not a lot of reports of them being together.
Yeah, like I
So
said, I found that to be strange. And I think it's important to note as well that More so than some of the other cryptids we've talked about, the Snallygaster has gained more recognition in mainstream media than some other stuff has. Being as that it's represented in the new set of Harry Potter movies, the mythical beasts and where to find them, and also in Fallout 76, there's a version of the Snallygaster. So more so than some of the other stuff we've talked about, this is one that listeners may have heard of more so than maybe anything except Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. There's a lot of schools have it as their mascot, and each school has a different description of it. It's what's really interesting about it. Just like all the descriptions of it, throughout the different mountain communities. Um, I know some of, like you were saying, some of them don't even describe it as being something that flies.
Yeah.
It's almost something that crawls or slithers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a it's an excellent legend. It's a cool story.
It's just a fun word to say.
It is
Snallygaster.
just yeah, it makes for a good time. Um, I know that I can't wait actually to get to do some investigations on it if we can ever get up there.
For
I
sure.
mean, the chances of us finding this thing are probably zero, but just to get a chance to go out on an investigation, that's what's fun.
Yeah. And I know, just about every time we do this, we promise that we're getting closer to being able to do some of these investigations. And we'll say the same thing tonight. And just like always, we'll hope it's true. We are doing everything we can to get out and get some, live investigations done. But with COVID and schedules going in three different directions and only two people, it's it's hard to get stuff scheduled where we're in the same place at the same time to do some of these.
Yeah, I know that the coronavirus thing is really putting a damper on even getting people to interview.
Yes.
Everybody, like I said earlier, practice social distancing. They're all doing that. So
And we had the one investigation scheduled last year, and it got canceled because of COVID. So we'll get to do it eventually, the ghost investigation. But we're trying. We'll get there eventually. Um, we'll do what we can.
yeah, the cool thing is we just keep on getting cool new equipment to use
Yeah,
and know where to use it yet.
yeah. We've got drones and thermal imaging cameras and all kinds of fun toys, and haven't got to share those with you all yet.
Yep, know where to play yet. So
Yeah,
all right, guys. JD, you gonna close us out?
I can. Just like always, I encourage you to go check us out on Facebook, Strange Appalachia. That's the best place to keep up with us. All our videos get posted there, even if I upload them to the wrong YouTube account again, which happened last time. So check us out there. Check us out on YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe if you like what you hear. If you've got any suggestions or any stories you'd like to share, or even any place that we can go investigate, especially if it's during these COVID-19 quarantine days that we live in, let us know. We're always happy to hear stories. Even if you don't want to be interviewed on camera, we'll tell your story for you if we can, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw in something real quick about that. We've had several people tell us stories, and that they don't want to be on camera. They don't want us to record, and that's fine. We're all down for that. Just get the story out there. That way, it's not lost or forgotten somewhere. We'll be happy to tell your story. Um, we'll keep it anonymous so that nobody will know who you are. We won't even talk about the area that it happened in, except in general terms. So, yeah, just don't let that story get lost. I know that there's a lot of weird things that happen out there, and people don't want to report them. But I mean, we live in everybody keeps using the term unprecedented times, and that's true in the paranormal community as well. Uh, the COVID thing has overshadowed the fact that the U.S. Navy has came out and said we have unidentified flying objects that are not man-made, and that's a pretty big deal. Um, they don't know where these things are coming from or where they're going. So, if you've got a story to tell, don't let that story fall to the wayside.
Absolutely. And with that, I guess we'll sign off for the week, and we hope to hear from you or get out and investigate in your area sometime soon.
Yeah, I'll take it easy.